Ay, mija, abuelita's on her way and I still need to shop for the party.
No worries. Let's order through Instacart.
¿Insta qué?
Sí, llama. We can order groceries and more online and get everything delivered in as fast as an hour.
Everything for dinner? Carne, tortillas, limas, plátanos.
Claro. Anything else?
Just make sure the plátanos are ripe.
Get groceries delivered same day with Instacart so you have more time for family. Visit instacart.com or download the app to get free delivery on your first 3 orders. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum order $10. Additional terms apply.
Dr. Bernie Siegel wrote the groundbreaking book Love, Medicine, and Miracles. He's also written several others. This book is a new book. It's fiction, 3 Men, 6 Lives, but it deals with real memories that he had about reincarnation and past lives. We also talk about a few other things, including how he's been working through the death of his wife and what's happened since then that's given him some new ideas about what happens after death. I like the quote, and this is the synopsis of your book, "The future is unconsciously created long in advance," from Carl Jung. Right. So these past life experiences that you write about in the book, 3 Men, 6 Lives, these are part of, as I understand it, your own recollections mixed in with the fiction.
Yeah, I mean, one of them is that I'm not the 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened to me. You see, again, this is not because I believe this and I go to therapists and psychics. I'm on the telephone with a friend. I said to her, I don't really have a lot of time to talk. I have an interview in a few minutes. Bernie, why are you living this life? She thought I was too busy and wanted me to stop and take it easy. But when she said, why are you living this life? I went into a trance and we were talking on the telephone. I said to her, oh my God. She said, what is it? Did I upset you? And I told her what I saw, myself with a sword, killing. Then this happened maybe a week or 2 later. I was flying cross country without my wife. So I'm sitting there quietly in a plane and I went into a trance. And I always say to people, it's like I was watching a movie of myself. But I saw my whole past life and realized what I had to learn from it and live in this life. I mean, I really felt that in many ways I became a surgeon to help people with a sword. You know, when I killed in a past life,
yeah,
I had to also learn about faith. Because imagine being asked to kill someone by your Lord.
Yeah.
See, that's when I went for therapy. I said, my Lord asked me to kill the neighbor's daughter. And James Hillman, the Jungian therapist, said, Bernie, do you hear what you said? I said, what do you mean? He said, the Lord, my Lord. I said, yeah, it's the Lord of the castle. No, Bernie, it's your Lord. You need to relive this and understand. And boy, did that wake me up. Because I said to him, now I know why I always questioned Abraham and Jesus. Why would you be willing to sacrifice your child? Why would you be willing to be crucified? Why don't you jump off the cross? Why don't you say to God, take me, leave the kid alone?
Yeah.
And boy, did I wake up to faith.
Yeah.
Because when I said and relived it and said to my Lord, okay, I'm going, he said, no, I just wanted to see if you had faith in me. I want you to bring them here. Let us resolve this issue. But as I mentioned, that in the book, that was my past life, what this night did. And I killed the woman who was my wife in this life. Because I went into her bedroom just to get people who are listening to understand, to kill her in her sleep so it wouldn't hurt so much. And I killed her dog, who started to growl at me as I walked in to the bedroom. And that woke her up. And then she turns over and I see my wife's face. And I kill her. And I cried for hours. It was incredible. See, when you say the future's unconsciously prepared, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross always used to say to me, Bernie, there are no coincidences. Because she was saying it in that simple way.
Yeah.
And I realized why from day one, my wife's face always paralyzed me. Like I was in love with her from the first day I met her. We were counselors at the camp. And I fell in love with her. And again, no coincidences. I never would have asked her out. She was too beautiful to go out with me. But one day we were taking care of the kids at the pool. And I said to her, it's nice that the camp allows the pool to stay open at night so the counselors can come back and swim and keep cool.
Mm-hmm.
summertime. And she said, "Are you asking me for a date?" Which I wasn't. I was just talking about the pool. But as soon as she said that, I thought, what do I got to lose? Yeah, I'm asking you for a date.
Go with that, yeah.
Yeah, and that started our life. And if I hadn't been talking about the pool, I never would have said to her, "Would you go out with me?" Because, as I said, she had better options than me. But we were meant to be.
Okay, how old were you guys?
Well, both in college. We were in college.
Okay.
Got married after my first year of medical school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to bring this in because, and you lost your wife. However, since then, you've had some very, let's just go with it, transformative experiences that speak to the continuation. And I think that's from a conversation we had when I was talking with you and your grandson about the other book that you guys had, When You Know How Perfect Everything Is. That's
right.
And that was one of the things that I remember you were having these experiences.
Oh, yeah.
And,
I mean, she's still with me. It's 2.5 years, but I mean, she's with me. And it's symbolic in the sense of numbers and other things. I mean, when she first died, the first few weeks, she would kiss me goodnight. And it was a special kind of kiss. I'm lying alone in the bedroom, and I hear like blowing out a candle.
mm-hmm.
Then I feel a breeze on my face. Now, how the hell did that happen? And I knew she was, kissing me with that breeze.
Uh-huh.
And then we were married on the 11th. I have God knows how many diamond pennies that I keep finding. And in bizarre places, and the one that really opened me to the mystical world, because sometimes you watch these television shows about spirits, and I mean, there's like a limit to what I could believe.
Yeah.
But I believe it all now because I was making the bed. I get up, I go around to the other side where my wife used to sleep to pull everything back over, and even it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I pick up the sheet, the blankets, and lift them up to pull, and they flew out of my hands and went the other way.
Oh.
And what's lying on the mattress? A dime and a penny. Now you tell me how a dime and a penny get at that layer of a bed, and they weren't there the day before,
Yeah.
what I mean.
Yeah.
And I know those blankets were pulled out of my hands. I'm pulling them one way, and they fly the other way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm open to the mystery of life. And that's part of why I keep writing books, because it's to get people to understand there's more to life than we're led to believe, if you know what I mean. That
Yes.
There's more to us than we're led to believe. And all this stuff isn't crazy. So I shared, one of the men in the book, a surgeon, is me in the sense of my story.
Yes.
My past life story.
Yeah.
And then the other two were true stories, but I made up the people.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to expose anybody else to this stuff.
Well, and part of that though is the characters play well, and there's some humor in it. Your humor comes through. We won't go with all the details, but one in the naming of dogs for one of the characters, that's where the humor comes in.
Yeah.
And then
I'm going to name my next dog after that.
Yeah. I bet you will. I don't. Okay. The one, Carmine, who's kind of the darker character of the bunch, with a history, a past, and possibly some involvement he'd like to get rid of that might be prosecutable.
Right.
He also helps you, I think, add more drama to the story too, because I found myself, once that character was introduced, and I'm like, okay, where is this going? Where are you going with this? Because all of a sudden there was a mystery, and
the names. See, I knew Carmine. We
Mm-hmm.
grew up together in Brooklyn, New York. So all the names in the book are real people also. It's just that I used their names to just label the characters, because I felt like that's who these people were.
Mm-hmm.
So the story comes from one person and the name comes from another. so you can't, connect them. And even the one about me, I made up a name for myself.
Yeah.
But it was real. That's why writing it, because I'm amazed, and I mean this literally, so often when I read what I've written, it's like, wow, where did that come from? Yeah, my wife's answer is always, it came from God knows where. I thought that was interesting one day when I said, I don't know where it came from. And she would say to people, it came from God knows where.
Dr. Bernie Siegel, author of 3 Men, 6 Lives, and best known for Love, Medicine, and Miracles.
In college, I took a course in creative writing. For the science, pre-med, I wanted to take a few courses of something else besides science. And the only C I got in 4 years of college was in creative writing.
Oh.
And it kept me from getting the highest honors. And my sense of humor, I wrote to the college after I had a bestseller. And they said, we can't raise your grade after graduation, so you get higher honors. I thought they would laugh. But they're more like professionals and doctors. Instead of laughing and saying, Bernie, thanks, you have us all laughing. But I realize now, the writing is more like being in a trance. Because even the first book I wrote, Love, Medicine, and Miracles, I didn't write it. I talked it. I sat down with a recorder, and I just talked and talked and talked. So I was telling stories
Yes.
and not thinking. And then it became successful. And I've learned that, in a sense, to become the people. Oh, Mario Puzo, the Godfather author, he was a friend of mine. And he made it clear to me one day when he said, because he said, I'm going in a room to write. And I was sitting with his girlfriend. And she looked up and she said, Mario, you leave us and you go in there and you haven't written anything. He said, I'm waiting for the character to tell me what to write. Boy, that explained it to me. See, that I was thinking and I was making the characters, but I have learned to become them. And so things pop out of me that are fun for me to read because it's like, again, where did that come from? From the character, not from you, so you can enjoy reading it.
There's something in there when you talk about, and this is through the characters, giving them advice and that kind of thing, talking about practicing to be the person you want to become until you become that person. And there's a lot of wisdom in your characters, in the lines that you help them deliver or they help you deliver, that is just part of life lessons.
Yeah. I mean, these are age-old messages. I mean it. I could quote the Bible and, in a sense, write the same book because it's about he who seeks to save his life will lose it. When you give up your life to please everybody else. So when you're willing to lose the untrue self and become who you really are, that's when you save your life. And that's related to whether it's cancer or anything else, or depression and suicidal thoughts. And so people need to pay attention to their hearts, their feelings, and live their authentic lives, not what's imposed upon them, which then destroys them and takes their life away.
You include the character who goes to see Dr. Brian Weiss, and, he's kind of like, a little skeptical and goes in and then has his past life experience. You talked about going into a trance and remembering your past life. Did you also do other past life therapy sessions or anything like that, or was it just spontaneous?
No, because it was so detailed and elaborate, sitting on an airplane. The only way I can describe it to people is it's like I was watching a movie of my life.
Mm-hmm.
You have dreams, you see things and so forth. So I'm sitting and watching myself go through this entire story. But you see, that's when I went to get therapy because it was so crushing to me. I mean, all I was doing was grieving. And that's when, the therapist, James Hillman, he just said a couple of things to me and it was like, wow. Because he turned the symbols into meaning, and then it was my ability, like using the word Lord, I said, it's the Lord of the Castle. No, Bernie, it's your Lord. And looking at, the sword versus a knife.
Yeah.
All these things that became so significant and so obvious. So I could really say I understood myself. Oh, when you talk about mystical things, after I lived it, one of our kids came home from school with a big canvas. He wrote the word words endlessly all over this canvas. Words, 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 words become swords, 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 swords.
Yeah.
His teacher said to him, why'd you do that? He said, I don't know. It was like he was my therapist for my past life, too.
Yeah.
Maybe he was in my past life. I don't know. But he was a little kid, at school, and they had an art class. And he did that. He didn't draw a picture. He wrote words, words, words all over it. And I have it hang it in the house. And it taught me you can kill a cure with a sword. You can kill a cure with words.
Yeah.
And again, doctors are not trained to talk to patients and insurance companies, and so people end up dying when they're told what their statistics are and what's going to happen to them.
You're vulnerable when you have an illness or an issue with it psychological, and all of a sudden you feel powerless and possibly hopeless. I think that diagnosis can be crushing when you put all of your stock in whatever they say, that's going to be it, instead of going, okay, that gives me a game plan. This is something I can work around. And I had that was bitten by a brown recluse, and people were saying, oh, it couldn't have been a brown recluse. Well, I needed the diagnosis so I could deal with it. And I went to a plastic surgeon. Normally what they would do is cut it out, at least in that case. And then they also do some kind of a steroid to kind of block it, to keep it from traveling. I did my research. What I did was remove the poison, the toxin that's in your system, and I won't go into it, but remove that, and then also detoxed with my diet to get my system so that it wouldn't be conducive, lots of sugar and carbs, to feed that poison, that toxin. Right. And I didn't do the surgery, but I did manage to get that eradicated from my system, and it looks like a bruise instead of some other. One guy was hospitalized. He got bit about the same time I did, but I needed to know for my own benefit what it was. And they said, yep, that's a brown recluse. Okay, done. That's as much as I needed to hear. And then
that's why your mind plays such an enormous part in this.
It's huge. Yeah. And I'm not saying that works for everybody, but I know that in that situation, when you are given a diagnosis, you have your own ability to turn the situation in your favor, on your behalf.
Well, let me tell you, on my website, BernieSiegelMD.com, there's an article entitled "Deceiving People into Health." I lied to people for their benefit. See, I did a lot of children's surgery, and the kids were easy to hypnotize. They believed you.
Mm-hmm.
So I always say the simplest thing, which I always did, there's an alcohol sponge, a new one. They numb your skin and clean it so you won't feel the needle. And the kids would say to me, no, that's wonderful. Why don't the other doctors do that? Because literally at least 80% of the kids had no pain at all from the needle.
Yeah.
About 20% would say, I felt it. I'd say, oh, that was a bad sponge.
Yeah.
But it still wasn't as bad as what they were expecting.
Yes.
And there are just so many, I could tell you so many stories of families where at home people were given the wrong medications and it worked fine because they thought they were getting the correct thing.
The right one.
Yeah, and then as this one lady said, when I had my glasses on, I said to my daughter, that's not the right medication. She said, it worked fine last time, Mom.
That's another thing, that they say that placebo effect and use it as a negative and say that's just nothing because there was nothing there. And it's like, it worked because
it's very powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wendy's Coffee House. Dr. Bernie Siegel opened a lot of minds and doors with the book Love, Medicine, and Miracles. We found out that you could heal, even if the diagnosis said that wasn't in your forecast. It still happened. And with his diagnosis and his practice, the way he viewed people as people, not their diagnosis, he introduced new ways of dealing with patients. One of the patients he dealt with over a long period of time was his wife. He says that wasn't without controversy among some of his peers. But he had a motivation.
I want her to walk through the house, have her strength, have her energy, not be worn out and make life meaningless.
Right.
So she outlived all kinds of things. And I may add, so people know, she died very peacefully one night in her sleep. That was the shock to me. I went in to wake her up because I had gotten up, taken care of our pets, and then gone back to wake her up and realized that she just looked so beautiful and peaceful lying there that she was gone.
We'll revisit this later in the interview. Right now, we're going to go back to 3 Men, 6 Lives and the blog on his website. You also do Q&A on your blog, and I'm looking at BernieSiegelMD.com. The book, 3 Men, 6 Lives, is available there, along with the other books as well. And I went back to August 31st. Do emotions play a role in affecting your environment? What difference does that make for healing? That's where I think you shine. You're so direct and so heartfelt with let your heart make decisions, not thinking but feeling, right. And understand what you're feeling, because when you deal with those feelings, then you can move mountains.
And I saw it, it was my experience. I'm not making up things. When somebody with AIDS says, I put a sign on my refrigerator, when you live in your heart, magic happens. She becomes HIV negative. And other people with AIDS too. It's not just cancer that I've worked with, but it's every disease. When they changed their life, it benefited them. And then one student, which showed, practically the benefit of emotions, he called me. He said, I want to do a study about how emotions affect your immune system, stress hormone levels. My professor thinks it's crazy because I want to use actors and work with them. And I said, fine, tell him. I'll talk to him, support you. So the professor agreed. So what the student did was take a male and a female actor. One scene was the man has murdered her husband and they meet. And he drew their blood while they're interacting. And then the other one was a comedy, and he drew their blood again. Mm-hmm. And it was very simple. In the comedy, immune function went up. In the stressful event, it went down. In the stressful event, the immune ones went down, mm-hmm. and the stress hormone levels went up. And when in the comedy, the immune function increased and the stress hormone levels were lowered. So just acting changed it in a healthy way. Uh-huh. If you're acting happy versus you're acting in a tragic way. And studies have been done with cancer patients. You laugh for no reason, you will, in this study, live longer than the control group who didn't laugh for no reason every 3 hours.
Wow.
It isn't any different over the COVID virus or anything else. Mm-hmm. Who gets it, who's susceptible, how does stress play a role? I mean, it's scientific, it's real.
Yeah.
It's not just your imagination or blaming yourself. It's something that really is happening. And I'll say this, because you had mentioned pets and things. Mm-hmm. The one study was done that was, Australia. The doctor looked up people who had a heart attack a year after their heart attack. And he found that if there was a dog in the house, their survival, the death rate, I think if there was no dog, was something like 24%. If there was a dog, it was 6%. So just having a dog in the house improved the survival.
Huge.
And again, that gets back to relationships and petting a dog and what that does to you and everything else. Mm-hmm. Women are the perfect example. They live longer than men with the same diseases. Why? I mean, these are quotes from The Office. I can't die. I have 9 kids. I'm not going to die till they're all married and out of the house. From a man with his kids and his wife sitting in the room. There's no point in living. I can't work anymore.
Oh, heartbreaking.
Yeah, I said to him, turn your head to the left. I think there are 4 good reasons.
Yes.
And one woman I kept alive because she had 12 cats. When I say I kept her alive, the family said, we don't visit our mother because the house stinks. Get rid of the cats, then you'll take care of her cancer. I said, no. They said, what do you mean no? You get rid of the cats, your mother's dead.
Yeah.
Tell her nobody wants 12 cats. You'll keep her house clean. And they thanked me for years. Mm-hmm. Because they knew it was so true. Once they said to the mother, nobody wants 12 cats. They knew she can't die.
Yeah.
And so they were very grateful for Crazy Siegel.
Oh, well, I think a lot of people are, and they may not be able to tell you, but you'll see it and you'll know it from the other side. I have every confidence that you'll still be keeping track.
Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate your time. And I again, the recent book, the one that we're talking about, is 3 Men, 6 Lives, and you incorporate some of your own history, your own your own experience in there, which makes it
I can't
fascinating.
help but become each of the characters, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
I know they're all individuals, but still a part of me is expressed in each of them. And what I wanted them to express and why I picked them is to share about life with everybody, why we are who we are.
It's a fun read, and it makes you feel, I think it's a heartwarming. It makes you feel good. Even though at one point the wives decide to do a little getting back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it just brings the life into it that sometimes, people do have a little bit of a, I'm going to get even just to make a point.
My wife was a good teacher about that. And, I was going to say, when you were talking about health, because years ago, so people know my wife died 2.5 years ago, but way back when, people would say to us, how long have you two been married? I'd say, we have 40 wonderful years of married life, and 40 out of 63 isn't too bad. And then they'd look at me like, oh, what a mean man. But when we were married, and she had the 5 kids, including twins, and not many years, the two of us were exhausted and got sick. And that's when I realized you can't separate your life from your health.
Yeah.
We're both worn out. She developed multiple sclerosis. And I never forget the neurologist telling me, what's going to happen to your wife? Basically, you'll be a father without a wife and you'll have 5 children because she'll be dead in so many years. And that's when I really got into holistic medicine and healing also because, I knew there were other doctors who were opening up medicine and their minds and healing. And so I got involved in the American Holistic Medical Association and became the president of it for a couple of years, way back in the 90s. My wife lived to be 87, so she didn't do what the neurologist said she was going to do. Even when she had a small breast cancer, when she was old and tired, because the MS, it doesn't just disappear. So it affected her in some ways in terms of fatigue and strength. Mm-hmm. But I put her on some hormones that were to build up her strength, female and male.
Yeah.
And people would say to me, don't you know if you have breast cancer, you shouldn't be on the female hormones. It's not good for her. She is a hormone sensitive. I said, I'm interested in her having a nice day. I'm not thinking about 5 years from now or 2 years from now. I want her to have a nice day.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was treating her, not a disease. And that's why doctors would look at me and say, how could you give that to your wife? She had breast cancer. And I try to explain to them, it's my wife. I want her to walk through the house, have her strength, have her energy, not be worn out and make life meaningless.
Right.
So she outlived all kinds of things. And I may add, so people know, she died very peacefully one night in her sleep. That was the shock to me. I went in to wake her up because I had gotten up, taken care of our pets, and then gone back to wake her up and realized that she just looked so beautiful and peaceful lying there that she was gone.
Wow.
And there was quite a feeling I had that went through my body, grief. It was amazing. And after she died, what organ in my body do you think went crazy?
Your heart.
My heart had an arrhythmia, and it was so classical.
Dr. Bernie Siegel, Wendy's Coffee House. Last time I interviewed Dr. Siegel, I was talking with him and his grandson Charlie. Their book, When You Realize How Perfect Everything Is. The newest book, and this is fiction, 3 Men, 6 Lives, but it also incorporates his past life memories. And it's a fun read. In the last break, we were talking about the death of his wife and what happened as a result.
But again, the mystical part. My wife was born on 9/9. I go to the emergency room. I have auricular fibrillation. I walk into the emergency room, and in the back, I hear a man yell, "Put him in room 9." I thought, well, my wife's watching me. We don't have a room for you in the hospital. Next day, A room is opened up. Room 819. And 8 is a new beginning. But it adds up, to 99. Then
Yes,
I look at my
99.
wristband, my identification number, which is always on my wristband now when I go to the doctor. Number 8, and then 996633. And the event number also has always added up to 9s, except once.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very upset because I'm always saying to the nurses, when you make up that wristband, everything will add up to 9. And the one time it didn't. But then I realized it adds up to your anniversary dumbbell, 7-11.
8-9, 7-11, 8-9. Yeah, 7-8-9. Yeah, that's still 9. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I didn't. Wow, I haven't thought of that. You're right. The 7-11 is still a 9.
It's still a 9.
But the numbers that were in there were like 7, 7, 4. You know what I mean? Things
Yes.
like that.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for 99, and it was 7-11.
That's, I think, is fascinating. People have numbers, and their numbers stay with them their entire life, and it's like it's.
I mean, our phone number.
Mhm.
I told you, it never occurred to me. But we have 5 kids, twins, and 3 others. We're in area code 203. Then we're married 7-11. The next 3 numbers were a 7, an 8, and a 3.
Uh-huh.
So they add up to 7-11. And it never occurred to me because I wasn't into all this mystical stuff, but it's like everything is shown to be okay.
And it goes back to the quote that you started with. The future is unconsciously created.
Unconsciously paired.
Yeah. And so it's just there reminding you, this is where you are. This is where you are in your future. This is all, you're on target, on task.
Yeah, and that's why you have to, I keep saying, follow your heart, because you want to be in the right place at the right time. And it's not going to happen from thinking. It happens from following your heart. See, I talked about parents and being loved just briefly. The messages I grew up with and my wife grew up with, do what makes you happy. So, when I would say to my folks, geez, I got to make a decision. I don't know what to do. Do what makes you happy. I was looking for help from them, that they would sit down and say, this is what we'd suggest. This makes more sense. No,
right.
Do what makes you happy. Oh, I had a horrible day today. God is redirecting you. Something good will come of this. Did you hear what I said? I said I had a horrible day. Yes, God is redirecting you. Something good will come of this. And Norman Vincent Peale, he made me realize my parents were like his. His mother used to say, Norman, if God slams one door, further down the corridor, another will be open. That's when you realize you are who you are because of your parents.
Mm-hmm.
And the last was my father's father died of tuberculosis, leaving a wife and 6 kids with nothing. And my father said it was one of the best things that ever happened to me. I said, what the hell are you talking about? He said, it taught me what was important about life. So he was always helping other people. It wasn't about getting paid back, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
He would help them in many ways, and some of them were financial. It made my mother a nervous wreck. But, he said, look, if they don't pay me back, they don't. That's not my problem. I want to help them. And he also said, though, which really helped me, because we got married, I was still in school. My wife had just finished college and was getting a job. And I was still going, on to medical school and everything. And I didn't have any money at all, because every time I earned something, I gave it to my father.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said to him, I feel very guilty asking you for help, so I can get married, can rent an apartment. And he said, if I don't want to help you, I'll say no. But feel free to ask. That's, as I say, what impressed me about him.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew I could ask.
Yeah.
And he would say no. And the other is, what an incredible guy he was. I broke the neighbor's toy because I was jealous of him. It was a special toy.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't have one. And his parents came over and showed it to my folks and said, your son broke our kid's toy. My father said, oh, well, we'll get you another one. Boys' parents left. And my parents didn't yell at me. They didn't raise their voice. They didn't say anything. The next day, my father came home with one of the toys. He walked over to me. I was sitting on the ground out in the front yard. He said, hey, here, I know you wanted one of these. Imagine the father saying that. I know you wanted one of these.
Mm-hmm.
And he handed it to me and walked in the house. And I knew I could keep it. and make it my toy.
Mm-hmm.
But I can remember saying, you keep it, your head will explode, from the pressure of the choice you're making.
Yes.
And what your parents will think of you. And so after about 2 minutes, I jumped up, ran over to the kid's house and gave it to him.
Uh-huh. You knew where it belonged.
Yeah, but what impressed me my whole life is he never said, what's wrong with you? Why did you break his toy? You could have come and told me you wanted one. You could have, nothing.
No.
Just here. I know you wanted one of these.
Pretty savvy.
Yeah.
Very savvy.
I've got a picture of him on the wall, my dad, plus a portrait of my parents that I painted. But it said, I'm very proud of you. To me, that's like the greatest gift. It's like winning the gold in the Olympics.
Yeah.
That your father would hand you a picture of himself saying, I'm proud of you.
Well, right now, there are a lot of people needing some support and needing help and needing an understanding that this too shall pass on a big scale going through the coronavirus, COVID. What would you suggest?
Maybe that was like Mel Brooks. Cheer up, things could be worse. So I cheered up and they got worse, It's, having faith in yourself too, that you can get through this and learn from other people who have gotten through it. That doesn't mean you don't ask for help. You want a hug? Ask for a hug. You want help? Ask for help. And let people know if they can't help, they can say no to you. But don't be afraid to ask. See, that gets back to literally immune competent personality, that the survivors have a sense of meaning in their life. I mean, there's more to the list than I'll mention. They ask for help when they need it. They say no to things they don't want to do. They make decisions about themselves in their life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the simple, basic things. Like you say, follow your heart. Let it make up your mind. Because I know so many people didn't die when they quit being a lawyer and played a violin.
Yeah.
They moved to Colorado to die in the beautiful mountains. When they got a dog and put in a backyard wildlife habitat. When they bought a house on the ocean down in Miami and canceled the dress code at work. Because what difference does it make what you're wearing to work if you only have a few months to live? None of those people died when they were supposed to. I laugh all the time because I called up to ask why I wasn't invited to the funeral to the family in Colorado. And he answered the phone and said, it was so beautiful here, I forgot to die. That was a year later. He was supposed to die in a few months.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. See, the psychiatrists, I'm more familiar with that because when people go to them for help, they realize how their personalities relate to their survival, too.
Yeah. All right. People can connect with you on your blog. You do answer questions there. I think that's brilliant. Bernie Siegel, MD.com. That's the blog site. We're going to have to let you go, but I really enjoyed the book, 3 Men and 6 Lives. And I also, the other
Thank
one,
you.
The classic, Love, Medicine, and Miracles was one of the ones I really, that was how I fell in love. So with your message.
God bless you. Thank you. Yeah, and what you find in it is what's within you, too. Your reaction to others teaches you a lot about yourself. You find other people are wonderful, friendly, and you enjoy them. It's because you're wonderful and friendly and enjoy other people. But when everybody's a problem, you're the problem. Accept what's within you and don't put it on other people, and you'll grow up and enjoy your life.
Thank you. Thanks for talking with me.
All right.
Knowing how powerful we are with our thoughts and what kind of an impact that makes on healing, you can move mountains and you can effect miracles in your life. Dr. Bernie Siegel and his stories are proof of that. BernieSiegelMD.com. Check out the books. Thanks for listening. Stay curious.
We get our weekly groceries delivered through Instacart because once football season starts, game time is family time. I can get everything my family needs for the week, from reliable staples to specialty ingredients, all delivered right to my door in as fast as 1 hour. So I can stay on my game without missing a minute of the game. Visit Instacart.com or download the app to get free delivery on your first 3 orders. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum order $10. Additional terms apply. Instacart. Add life to cart.
When things feel a bit chaotic, Instacart helps deliver milk and sausage at Add a little life to your cart. Get stuff from literally all your stores, from baby wipes to albacore. Add a little life to your cart. Instacart helps get your groceries. Your first 3 deliveries are free.
Download Instacart. Add life to cart. Terms apply.